The large meeting room buzzed with the sounds of different alien languages. Admiral Kyung-ho sat at the small human table, watching as the bigger alien delegations talked loudly about trade deals. The Andorian Council met every month, and humans were always invited. But they were treated like children who were allowed to sit with the adults. Kyung-ho wore his best uniform, but it looked simple next to the shiny armor and bright robes of the alien leaders. The Alterans had golden suits that seemed to glow. The Vorthak wore black metal that made them look like walking weapons. Even the peaceful Zephyrians had clothes that changed colors as they moved. "The humans want to buy more ship parts," said Chancellor Wu Jin from Altera. His voice was kind, but had the tone adults use when talking to a child. "We can give them a good price. They are good customers." The other aliens nodded. Humans paid well and never caused trouble. They had small ships and weak weapons, but they worked hard and made useful things. It was a good relationship for everyone. Kyung-ho smiled and nodded. He had been doing this job for 5 years, the aliens thought. They knew everything about humans. They were wrong, but Kyung-ho would never tell them that. Not yet. Far away from the meeting on a small space station at the edge of human space, sensor technician Da-un was having a very bad day. Her equipment was showing impossible readings. The screens were full of red warnings and numbers that made no sense. "Commander Park," she called to her boss. "I think something is broken. My sensors are showing massive objects in deep space, but the numbers are crazy." Commander Park walked over and looked at her screen. His face went pale. "How many objects?" "The computer says 700,000, sir, but that cannot be right. Nothing is that big, and they are all moving together." Park stared at the screen for a long time. He knew what Da-un did not know. He knew the real secret that Earth had been hiding for 300 years. "Send this data to Admiral Kyung-ho immediately," Park said quietly. "Use the special channel. Tell no one else." Da-un was confused, but did as she was told. She sent the data and went back to her work, thinking her equipment was broken. At the alien meeting, Kyung-ho felt his hidden communicator buzz against his wrist. He looked down and saw the message from Da-un. His heart started beating faster, but his face stayed calm. "Friends," Kyung-ho said, standing up from his chair, "I must leave early today. There is a small problem at one of our colonies." The aliens barely looked at him. They were used to humans having small problems that they had to fix themselves. Kyung-ho walked out of the meeting room and went straight to his ship. Captain Hyun-woo was waiting for him. Hyun-woo was young but smart, and he knew how to keep secrets. "Sir," Hyun-woo said as soon as they were alone, "I got the same data from Sensor Station 7. Is it time?" Kyung-ho nodded slowly. "Send a message to Earth. Tell them the children are coming home." The ship Sol's Dawn was small and fast. It could jump between stars quickly without making much noise. As they flew toward the coordinates from Da-un's sensors, Hyun-woo felt nervous. "Sir, what if the aliens find out what we have been hiding?" Kyung-ho looked out at the stars. "Then the galaxy will finally see what humans can really do." They jumped to hyperspace and traveled for 6 hours. When they came out, both men stared in shock at what they saw. Even though they knew it was coming, seeing it was different. 700,000 ships floated in the darkness of space. Each ship was enormous, bigger than the largest alien warships. They moved in perfect lines, like a giant metal ocean. The smallest ships were the size of cities. The largest ships were the size of small moons. "My God," Hyun-woo whispered. "How did we build so many?" Very carefully, Kyung-ho said, and very secretly. The biggest ship in the fleet was easy to spot. It was in the center, and it was larger than anything else. This was the flagship, and Kyung-ho knew who commanded it. "Fleet Admiral So Young," Kyung-ho said into his communicator. "This is Admiral Kyung-ho. Permission to come aboard." "Permission granted, old friend," came the reply. So Young's voice was strong and confident. "It is time for the galaxy to meet the real human fleet." As their small ship flew toward the flagship, Hyun-woo counted the weapons he could see. Each big ship had more guns than entire alien battle groups. The shields around the ships made the space around them shimmer like water. "How long have these ships been out here?" Hyun-woo asked. "The first ones were built 150 years ago," Kyung-ho said. We have been adding more every year. The aliens think we are a young race with weak technology. They never looked hard enough to see what we were really doing. They landed in the flagship's huge docking bay. Hundreds of smaller ships were parked there. Each one was bigger and more advanced than the best ships the aliens had. Fleet Admiral So Young was waiting for them. She was a tall woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She had been commanding the secret fleet for 20 years, waiting for this day. "Admiral Kyung-ho," she said with a smile. "How are our alien friends?" "Still thinking we are harmless," Kyung-ho replied. "They have no idea what is coming." So Young nodded and led them to the command center. The room was enormous, with hundreds of screens showing information from all over the galaxy. Officers worked quietly at their stations, monitoring everything that happened in known space. "Show him the communications," So Young said to one of her officers. The big screen showed intercepted alien messages. Kyung-ho read them and felt angry. The Vorthak hegemony was planning an attack on human colonies. They thought humans were weak and easy targets. Other alien groups were talking about taking over human trade routes. "They see us as prey," So Young said quietly. "They think because our colony ships are small and weak, that is all we have. They are about to learn how wrong they are." So Young walked to the main communication station. "Open a channel to all frequencies. Full power." "The communications?" Officer nodded. "Channel open, Admiral." So Young's voice was calm but carried the weight of 700,000 warships behind it. "This is Fleet Admiral So Young of the Terran Defense Force. To all governments and military forces in this galaxy, humanity requests immediate cessation of all hostile activities against human worlds and citizens. Any attacks on human interest will be met with overwhelming force. This is not a negotiation. This is a statement of fact." The message was broadcast on every frequency that aliens used. Every government, every military base, every space station would receive it. On the alien space stations and planets, communication officers stared at their screens in confusion. The message was coming from coordinates that showed only empty space. But the signal was so powerful it overrode their own transmissions. "There is nothing there," one alien technician said to his commander. "Our sensors show empty space. But other sensors, the ones that looked for gravitational changes, were showing something different. They showed massive objects where there should be nothing. Objects so big and so many that they were bending space around them. As the news spread, alien leaders began to panic. If the sensors were right, humans had the largest fleet in galactic history. If they were wrong, humans had technology that could hide fleets so well that they might as well be invisible. Either way, the galaxy would never be the same. Admiral Kyung-ho stood on the bridge of the flagship, looking out at the endless rows of human warships. Tomorrow, he would return to the Alien Council, but he would not be asking for permission anymore. He would be stating terms. The universe was about to learn that humanity had been playing a very long game. And now, finally, it was time to show their cards. 300 years ago, when humans first discovered faster-than-light travel, the leaders of Earth made a decision that would change everything. They decided to show the galaxy only part of what humanity could do. Engineer Tai Jin remembered the stories his grandfather told him. Back then, humans sent small exploration ships to meet the aliens. The ships were real, but they were built to look weak and simple. The aliens saw them and thought humans were a young race with basic technology. "Let them think we are small," the Earth government had said. "While they ignore us, we will build something they cannot imagine." Tai Jin had spent his whole life in the hidden shipyards. These were not built on planets where alien spies might see them. They were built in the dark space between stars, using asteroids and ice comets as raw materials. The shipyard where Tai Jin worked was inside a hollow asteroid. From the outside, it looked like any other space rock. But inside, it was a factory, bigger than most cities. Thousands of workers built ships that could destroy entire solar systems. "Another dreadnought finished," Tai Jin said to his friend Bin Ai as they watched the newest ship leave the construction bay. The ship was 3 kilometers long and armed with weapons that could crack a planet in half. Bin Ai worked in intelligence, gathering information about alien military forces. She had been doing this job for 15 years, and every year the news was the same. The aliens thought they knew everything about human capabilities. The Vorthak just finished building their new super battleship, Bin said, reading from her tablet. They think it is the most powerful ship in the galaxy. It has fusion cannons and quantum shields. Taejin laughed. Our smallest escort ships have better weapons than that. It was true. Human technology had advanced far beyond what any alien race possessed. While the aliens spent centuries fighting small wars with each other, humans had spent those same centuries learning and building. The secret was simple but powerful. Most alien races developed space travel first, then tried to build industries in space. Humans did the opposite. They built the most advanced industries in the galaxy, then took those industries to space. Human factories could build a warship in 2 weeks. Alien shipyards took 2 years to build something half as good. Human weapons used principles of physics that aliens had not even discovered yet. Human shields could stop attacks that would destroy stars. But the most important advantage was numbers. The aliens saw human colony ships and thought humans could only build a few ships at a time. They never guessed that Earth had hundreds of hidden shipyards, each one building dozens of warships every month. Captain Jin Ho commanded one of the newest dreadnoughts, the Incheon's Thunder. His ship alone carried more firepower than the entire Alteran fleet. As his ship moved through space, its gravity drives created ripples that could be felt across star systems. "Sir," his weapons officer said, "our main guns are showing full charge. We could destroy that moon with a single shot." Jin Ho nodded. Each of his main guns used concentrated gravity to crush targets into nothing. The aliens had never seen weapons like these. They still use simple energy beams and explosive missiles. "Remember," Jin Ho told his crew, "we are not here to destroy anything today. We are here to make sure we never have to destroy anything." The philosophy was simple. If humans showed enough power, no one would dare to test it. It was better to reveal overwhelming strength than to use it. On the alien homeworlds, intelligence services were working frantically to understand what was happening. Spy Master General Vex of the Alterans had been watching humans for 50 years. He thought he knew everything about them. "How could we have missed this?" he asked his assistant. 700,000 ships do not appear from nothing. His assistant, a young officer named Clar, was reading reports from their best spies. "Sir, our agents on human worlds report normal activities, small shipyards, civilian factories, peaceful colonies. There is no sign of major military production." "Then where did the ships come from?" Vex demanded. The answer was simple, but the aliens could not believe it. The ships came from places the aliens never looked. Empty space, dead systems, asteroid fields that seemed worthless. Humans had turned the entire galaxy into their factory, and the aliens never noticed. Dr. Haya Jin studied alien psychology from her laboratory on the human flagship. She had spent years learning how different alien minds worked. What she discovered explained why humans had been so successful at hiding their true strength. Most alien species develop in predictable ways, she explained to Admiral So Young. They discover space travel when their technology is still primitive. Then they spread across many worlds and fight small wars with each other. And humans? So Young asked. Humans developed space travel when we already had advanced technology. We brought our best factories and weapons to space with us. The aliens compare us to themselves when they were young. They do not realize we are already mature. It was like comparing a child's toy sword to a real weapon. The aliens thought humans were still children, but humans had been adults for centuries. Lieutenant. Commander Sang-hee monitored alien communications from her station on the flagship. After Admiral So Young's message, every alien government was talking at once. The conversations were panicked and confused. "The Vorthak military command is arguing about whether to attack or surrender," Sang-hee reported. "Half of them think we are bluffing. The other half want to run away." "What about our allies?" Admiral So Young asked. "The Alterans are shocked but trying to stay calm. Chancellor Wu Jin has called an emergency meeting. The Zephyrians are asking if they can switch sides." So Young smiled. The aliens were reacting exactly as predicted. The aggressive ones were confused and scared. The peaceful ones were trying to figure out how to stay on humanity's good side. "Send a message to Chancellor Wu Jin," So Young said. "Tell him Admiral Kyung-ho will meet with him tomorrow. Same place, same time. But the conversation will be very different. Back on Earth, President Min Su was addressing the global government. For 300 years, Earth's leaders had kept the secret of the hidden fleet. Now it was time to tell their own people the truth. Citizens of Earth, President Min Su said, today our children have revealed themselves to the galaxy. For 3 centuries, we have built in secret. We have prepared for the day when peace would no longer be enough. The reaction on Earth was mixed. Some people were proud that humanity had become the strongest force in the galaxy. Others were worried about what would happen next. We did not build these ships to conquer, President Min Su continued. We built them to ensure that no one could ever conquer us. Today, humanity takes its place as the guardian of galactic peace. In the hidden shipyards, workers like Tai Jin watched the news with satisfaction. Their secret work was finally revealed. They had built the most powerful fleet in galactic history, and they had done it without anyone noticing. What happens now? Asked a young worker who had just started her job. Tai Jin looked at the endless construction bays where new ships were still being built. Now we make sure the galaxy stays peaceful. And if anyone tries to disturb that peace, he pointed to the newest dreadnought floating outside the shipyard. It was bigger and more powerful than anything that had come before. They will learn why it is better to be humanity's friend than humanity's enemy. The revelation was complete. The galaxy now knew that the small, peaceful humans they had ignored for centuries were actually the most powerful military force in known space. Some aliens were terrified. Others were amazed. All of them were asking the same question: what did humanity want? The answer was simple, but it would take time for the aliens to understand it. Humanity wanted what they had always wanted: peace, prosperity, and the freedom to build a better future. The only difference was that now, humanity had the power to make sure they got it. The Andorian council chambers looked the same as always, but everything had changed. Ambassador Yunji walked into the room with confidence she had never shown before. Behind her walked Admiral Kyung Ho, no longer the quiet human who asked for permission to speak. The alien delegates stared at them as they entered. Yesterday, humans sat at the small table in the corner. Today, Yunji walked straight to the center of the room and stood at the main podium. Friends, Yunji said, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber. We need to discuss some changes to our agreements. Chancellor Wu Jin of the Alterans looked confused and hurt. He had considered himself humanity's protector for decades. His people had given humans good trade deals and helped them settle on new worlds. He thought he was being kind to a weaker species. Ambassador Yunji, Wu Jin said carefully, perhaps we should discuss this privately first. There may be some misunderstanding about yesterday's announcement. Yunji smiled politely. There is no misunderstanding, Chancellor. For 300 years, humanity has appreciated Alteran friendship. We hope that friendship will continue under the new circumstances. New circumstances? Asked General Thok of the Vorthak hegemony. His voice was aggressive, but Yunji could hear uncertainty in it. You humans cannot simply announce a fleet and expect us to believe it exists. Admiral Kyung Ho stepped forward. He pressed a button on his wrist communicator. Immediately, every screen in the chamber showed the same image: 700,000 human warships floating in perfect formation. The chamber fell silent. Even the usually loud Vorthak had nothing to say. The fleet is real, Kyung Ho said simply. These ships have been built over the past 3 centuries while humanity has maintained peaceful relations with all of you. We prefer to keep those peaceful relations. The word prefer hung in the air like a threat. It was not a request or a hope. It was a statement of what humanity wanted, backed by overwhelming force. Ambassador Yunji had spent years studying galactic law and diplomacy. She knew how to speak the language that aliens understood. But now she was writing new rules instead of following old ones. The existing trade agreements were made when the balance of power was different, Yunji said. Humanity proposes new agreements that reflect current realities. She activated a holographic display that showed new trade terms. The aliens read them with growing shock. Humans were no longer asking for scraps and leftovers. They were demanding fair prices for their goods and equal treatment in all transactions. These terms are... Chancellor Wu Jin began. Fair, Yunji finished. For the first time, these terms are fair. She was right, and everyone in the room knew it. For centuries, aliens had given humans bad deals because humans had no choice but to accept them. Those days were over. On the Alteran homeworld, Chancellor Wu Jin's advisors were in chaos. Their entire foreign policy was based on the idea that they were the strongest military power in the local region. Suddenly, they were not even close. How could they hide so much from us? Asked General Kess, the Alteran military commander. Our intelligence services reported nothing unusual. Because they wanted us to see nothing unusual, replied Intelligence Chief Ren. Every time our spies looked at human worlds, they saw exactly what humans wanted them to see. Small shipyards, peaceful colonies, weak defenses. Wu Jin stared at a holographic map of the galaxy. Red dots showed known alien military bases. Blue dots showed human colonies. For the first time, he realized that human colonies were positioned perfectly to control every major trade route and strategic location. They have been planning this for centuries, Wu Jin said quietly. While we thought we were protecting them, they were positioning themselves to protect everyone else. The communication networks across the galaxy buzzed with panicked messages. Lieutenant Commander Sang He monitored them all from her station on the human flagship. The Rigelian Commonwealth is asking if our protection offer extends to them, Sang He reported to Admiral So Young. The Centauri Republic wants to know if we will honor their existing treaties with the Alterans. What about the aggressive species? So Young asked. The Vorthak hegemony is split. Half their military leaders want to test our strength. The other half are calling for immediate peace negotiations. The Draxian Empire has gone completely silent. Their entire leadership is in emergency session. So Young nodded. This was exactly what human strategists had predicted. When faced with overwhelming force, alien governments would split into three groups: those who wanted to fight, those who wanted to surrender, and those who wanted to negotiate. Send individual messages to each government, So Young ordered. Make it clear that humanity's offer of protection is open to all peaceful civilizations, but also make it clear that aggression against any human interest will be met with immediate and overwhelming response. Dr. Hae Jin studied the psychological profiles she had compiled over years of research. Each alien species would react differently to the revelation of human power. The Alterans will be hurt and confused, she explained to Admiral So Young. They genuinely believed they were helping humanity. They will need time to adjust to being the protected instead of the protectors. And the Vorthak? They respect only strength. Some will want to challenge us to prove their own power. Others will immediately submit because they understand they cannot win. The Zephyrians? They are natural traders and diplomats. They will quickly adapt to the new situation and try to profit from it. It was important to understand each species because humanity's approach would be different for each one. The Alterans needed reassurance that their friendship was still valued. The Vorthak needed clear demonstrations of human power. The Zephyrians needed profitable new opportunities. Trade Minister Young He was already working on the economic implications of the new galactic order. For centuries, humans had been forced to accept unfair prices for their goods. Human technology was advanced, but aliens paid cheap prices because humans had no choice. Our industrial capacity is already beyond anything the galaxy has seen, Young He explained to the cabinet back on Earth. But we have been selling our goods at prices set by alien buyers. That changes now. The numbers were impressive. Human factories could produce goods faster and better than any alien civilization. Human technology was centuries ahead in most areas. When humans stopped accepting unfair prices, the economic balance of the galaxy would shift as dramatically as the military balance. Captain Su Jin commanded one of the human diplomatic escort ships. Her job was to visit alien worlds and explain the new reality. Her first stop was the Rigelian Commonwealth, a peaceful federation that had always been friendly to humans. Prime Minister Dal, Su Jin said as she met with the Rigelian leader, humanity values our long friendship. Under the new circumstances, we would like to formalize a mutual defense agreement. Prime Minister Dal was a wise leader who understood what he was being offered. Captain Su Jin, are you saying that humanity will protect Rigelian worlds from aggression? Yes, sir. in exchange for continued peaceful relations and fair trade agreements. Dal smiled. Captain, the Rigelian Commonwealth accepts with gratitude. It was an easy negotiation because the Rigelians had always been fair to humans. Other negotiations would be more difficult. Commander Chanho had a different mission. He commanded a squadron of human warships that was visiting the border worlds of the Draxian Empire. The Draxians had a history of raiding weak civilizations, and human colonies had been frequent targets. Emperor Zex, Chanho said during his meeting with the Draxian leader, humanity offers the Draxian Empire the same choice we offer everyone: peace and fair trade, or the consequences of continued aggression. Emperor Zex was a warrior who had built his empire through conquest. He looked at the holographic displays showing human firepower and made a quick calculation. Commander Chanho, Zex said after a long pause, the Draxian Empire accepts humanity's offer of peace. Our raids on human worlds will cease immediately. All raids, Chanho clarified, on human worlds and on any worlds under human protection. Zex nodded reluctantly. His empire had just lost most of its easy targets, but he was smart enough to know that challenging humanity would mean losing everything. Back in the Andorian Council chambers, the diplomatic revolution continued. Ambassador Yunji presented humanity's new galactic policy with calm confidence. Humanity will guarantee the security of all peaceful civilizations, she announced. We will ensure that trade routes remain open and safe. We will mediate disputes between species when requested. And in return? Asked Chancellor Wu Jin. Fair treatment, honest trade, and respect for human interests, Yunji replied. The same things we have always wanted. The difference was that now humanity had the power to demand these things instead of hoping for them. General Thok of the Vorthak stood up angrily. You cannot simply declare yourselves the rulers of the galaxy. We are not declaring ourselves rulers, Admiral Kyung-ho said calmly. We are declaring ourselves the guardians of galactic peace. Any species that wants to continue fighting wars with each other is free to do so. But those wars will not threaten peaceful civilizations anymore. It was a revolutionary concept. For the first time in galactic history, one species had enough power to enforce peace across all known space. The meeting ended. War leader Grak of the Vorthak hegemony slammed his fist on the metal table. The other Vorthak commanders around him growled in agreement. They were warriors, and warriors did not accept threats without testing them. The humans think they can scare us with numbers on a screen, Grak snarled. We have fought and won against armies that outnumbered us before. General Thok, who had been at the diplomatic meeting, shook his head. War leader, you did not see those ships. Each one is larger than our biggest battlecruiser. Larger does not mean stronger, Grak replied. The humans have been peaceful for centuries. Their warriors are soft. Their weapons are untested. We will show the galaxy that the Vorthak hegemony fears no one. It was the kind of thinking that had made the Vorthak powerful, but it was also the kind of thinking that would destroy them. Grak chose his target carefully. The human colony of New Busan was on the edge of human space, far from Earth and the main human settlements. It had only a small defense force of the civilian ships that aliens were used to seeing. If we can destroy New Busan quickly, Grak explained to his fleet commanders, the humans will realize that their hidden fleet cannot be everywhere at once. Other species will see that humans can be defeated. He was wrong about everything, but Grak would not live long enough to understand his mistakes. Admiral So Young received the intelligence report from Captain Min Su, the colonial defense commander at New Busan. Vorthak raiding fleets were gathering at the edge of the system. How many ships are they bringing? So Young asked. 200 battlecruisers, sir, Min Su replied over the communication link. My entire defense force is 12 ships. So Young smiled coldly. Colonel Min Su, how would you like to be promoted? To general? Sir? Hold your position and protect the civilians. Help is on the way. What Grak did not know was that human intelligence had been watching Vorthak military movements for weeks. What he also did not know was that the human fleet could travel faster than any alien ships. Captain Do Yan commanded the dreadnought Busan's Thunder, one of Admiral So Young's most powerful ships. When the call came to defend New Busan, she was 300 light-years away. The journey would take Vorthak's ships 2 weeks. Do Yan made it in 4 hours. Colonel Minsu watched his sensors in amazement as space around New Busan filled with human warships. Not just one or two ships, but dozens of the massive dreadnoughts that the aliens had seen in the holographic displays. "General Minsu," came Admiral So Young's voice over the communication system. "You have been promoted. Please coordinate the evacuation of all civilians to safe bunkers." "Ma'am, with respect, shouldn't we be evacuating the planet?" "Negative, General. We are not giving up a single human world. The Vorthak want to test our resolve. Today, they learned the price of that test. The Vorthak attack fleet dropped out of, hyperspace exactly when their intelligence predicted. War leader Grak expected to see a small human colony defended by a handful of weak ships. Instead, he saw 50 human dreadnoughts waiting in perfect battle formation. "War leader," his censor officer said with a shaking voice. "Those ships, they are each reading as having more firepower than our entire fleet combined." Grak stared at the tactical display. Each human ship was massive, larger than anything the Vorthak had ever built. The energy readings from their weapons were off the scale. "They are bluffing," Grak said, but his voice had lost its confidence. "All ships, attack formation. We will show them that Vorthak warriors fear nothing." It was the last order war leader Grak would ever give. Captain Doyon watched the Vorthak ship's advance on her main screen. Her weapons officer looked at her expectantly. "Ma'am, should we target their flagship?" "Negative," Doyon replied. "Target everything." The battle lasted exactly 5 minutes and 43 seconds. The Vorthak opened fire first, sending energy beams and missiles toward the human fleet. The weapons struck the human shields and simply disappeared, absorbed by defensive systems that were beyond Vorthak understanding. Then the humans fired back. The Busan's thunder alone destroyed 30 Vorthak ships with its first salvo. The main guns used concentrated gravity waves that crushed the enemy ships into small metal balls. The secondary weapons fired plasma beams that could cut through any known armor. Across the battle line, 49 other human dreadnoughts opened fire. In less than 2 minutes, the entire Vorthak attack fleet was destroyed. Not damaged, not defeated. Completely annihilated. "Any survivors?" Doyon asked her sensor officer. 17 escape pods, ma'am. No ships left intact. Rescue the survivors. Admiral So Young will want to question them." General Minsu, newly promoted, watched the battle from the surface of New Busan. What had been expected to be a desperate defense became a demonstration of overwhelming human power. "Sir," his communications officer said, "we are receiving surrender messages from 6 other Vorthak fleets in nearby systems. They are requesting immediate ceasefire." The news of the battle spread across the galaxy, faster than light. News reporter Ye Jin of the Galactic Information Network arrived at New Busan within hours, interviewing the Vorthak survivors. "War leader Grak told us that humans were weak," said one Vorthak prisoner, his voice hollow with shock. "He said their ships were just for show. We were wrong." Yejin interviewed Captain Doyon next. "Captain, can you describe the battle from your perspective?" "There was no battle," Doyon replied matter-of-factly. "The Vorthak attacked. We responded. It was over in less than 6 minutes. The Vorthak fleet had 200 ships. You had 50. Yet you achieved total victory with no losses." Doyon nodded. "The enemy made the mistake of thinking that numbers matter more than technology. Each of our ships has more firepower than their entire fleet had. This was not a battle. It was a demonstration." Tactical analyst Sung Ho provided commentary that was broadcast across the galaxy. His analysis made alien military leaders realize the true scope of human capability. The humans used approximately 3% of their available firepower. Sung Ho explained to the galactic audience. A single human dreadnought could have destroyed the entire Vorthak attack force. They brought 50 ships to ensure there were no survivors to spread fear, only witnesses to spread truth. "What truth is that?" asked the interviewer. "That humanity has not just the largest fleet in galactic history, but the most advanced. Their weapons appear to manipulate fundamental forces of physics in ways we do not understand. Their defenses can absorb stellar-level energy without damage. On Vorthak worlds, the military leadership was in complete chaos. Half of their fleet. Commanders were demanding immediate surrender. The other half were insisting that the humans had used some kind of trick. This changes everything," said General Thok, now the highest-ranking Vorthak military officer after Grak's death. "We cannot fight an enemy whose weakest ships are stronger than our strongest." "Then what do you suggest?" asked the Vorthak High Council. "Complete surrender, immediate cessation of all military activities, and hope that the humans are as merciful as they are powerful." The psychological impact was exactly what Admiral So Young had intended. The Vorthak had been the most aggressive species in the galaxy. If they could be defeated so easily, no other alien military was foolish enough to test human strength. Emperor Zex of the Draxian Empire called an immediate meeting with his military advisors. Analysis of the new Busan engagement? Complete. Human victory, his tactical officer reported. The Vorthak fleet was annihilated without causing any damage to human forces. Our intelligence suggests that the humans used only a small fraction of their available power. What is our fleet strength compared to what the humans showed at New Busan? Sir, our entire navy could not defeat a single human dreadnought. Zex made his decision quickly. Send a message to Admiral So Young. The Draxian Empire formally requests a non-aggression treaty with humanity. We will cease all military activities against human interests or their allies. Similar messages were sent from dozens of alien governments. The Battle of New Busan had lasted only 6 minutes, but its effects would reshape galactic politics forever. Admiral So Young addressed the human fleet from her flagship. Today we showed the galaxy that our offer of peace is backed by overwhelming strength. The Vorthak chose to test our resolve. They learned that testing human resolve is a fatal mistake. She paused, looking at the reports of alien surrender messages flooding in. Let this be the last time any species makes that mistake. Humanity seeks peace, but we are prepared for war. And as the galaxy has now seen, when humans prepare for war, we prepare to win decisively. The demonstration was complete. 700,000 human warships had not needed to fire a shot. 50 ships had been enough to end the most powerful aggressive threat in the galaxy. The universe was learning that when humans said they wanted peace, they had the power to enforce it. News anchor Ye Jin ended her report with words that would be remembered across the galaxy. Today, the age of alien military aggression ended. It ended not with negotiations or treaties, but with 5 minutes and 43 seconds of human firepower that no alien fleet can match. The test of human resolve was over. Humanity had passed with overwhelming force. 6 months after the Battle of New Busan, Admiral Kyung-ho walked into the Andorian Council chambers as the most powerful person in the galaxy. The alien delegates who once barely noticed him now stood when he entered the room. "Admiral, Chancellor," Wu Jin said with genuine respect, "welcome to the emergency session." The emergency was simple. The old galactic order was completely broken. Trade agreements made no sense when humans controlled the strongest military force. Defense treaties were worthless when only humanity could provide real protection. Everything had to be rebuilt from the beginning. "Friends," Kyung-ho said, standing at the main podium that was now permanently reserved for human representatives, "we gather today to create a new foundation for galactic peace and prosperity." He activated a holographic display showing the proposed new structure. At the center was humanity, not as rulers but as guarantors of peace. Around them were circles representing different types of relationships with alien civilizations. Tier 1, full alliance partners, Kyung-ho explained. These are civilizations that commit to peaceful development and fair trade. They receive full protection from the human fleet and preferred trade status. The Alterans and several other peaceful species had already signed up for Tier 1 status. It meant giving up their independent military forces in exchange for human protection, but most of them realized their military forces were useless anyway. Tier 2, non-aggression partners. These civilizations maintain their own military forces, but agree to peaceful coexistence. They receive limited protection and standard trade agreements. Most of the galaxy's governments fell into this category. They were not ready to give up their independence, but they were not foolish enough to remain hostile to humanity. Tier 3, neutral observers. These civilizations choose to remain outside our sphere of influence. We respect their choice, but they receive no protection and no special trade benefits. A few proud species chose this option, preferring isolation. To admitting human superiority, there is no Tier 4, Kyung-ho said quietly. Any civilization that chooses aggression against humanity or our allies will be removed from existence." The room was silent. Everyone understood that this was not a threat. It was a simple statement of fact. Captain Su-jin had been promoted to admiral and given command of the Diplomatic Protection Force. Her job was to visit alien worlds and help them adjust to the new reality. Her first major mission was to the Centauri Republic, a democratic federation that had been struggling with internal conflicts for decades. "President Kels," Su-jin said during her meeting with the Centauri leader, "humanity is prepared to offer you Tier 1 alliance status. This would end your internal wars and guarantee your security." President Kels was an old politician who had seen his republic torn apart by decades of fighting between different Centauri factions. "Admiral Su-jin, what exactly would this alliance require?" "Integration of your military forces with human command structure, adoption of human-mediated dispute resolution for internal conflicts, and commitment to peaceful development policies." "You are asking us to give up our independence." Su-jin shook her head. "We are asking you to give up your civil wars. Your people can govern themselves however they choose, but they cannot fight each other anymore." It was an easy choice for Kels. His people had been killing each other for 30 years. Human protection meant peace, prosperity, and an end to the violence that had destroyed so many Centauri lives. "The Centauri Republic accepts humanity's offer," Kels said. Within weeks, human peacekeeping forces arrived in the Centauri system. But instead of occupying worlds, they simply positioned themselves in space and announced that fighting would no longer be tolerated. The effect was immediate. Centauri factions that had been shooting at each other for decades suddenly found themselves sitting at negotiation tables. When the alternative was facing human military intervention, even the most stubborn fighters became willing to compromise. Trade Minister Young-hee was busier than she had ever been in her life. The economic implications of the new galactic order were enormous, and every trade agreement had to be rewritten. The old system was based on exploitation, Young-hee explained to her staff. Powerful species forced weak species to accept unfair deals. That system no longer exists. The numbers were impressive. Human technology that had previously sold for cheap prices now commanded fair market value. Alien goods that had been overpriced now had to compete with superior human alternatives. "The Rigelians are offering to double their payments for human manufacturing equipment," reported trade specialist Dong Su. "Counteroffer with triple," Young-hee replied. "Our equipment is worth far more than they were paying. They just never had to pay fair prices before." But the changes went both ways. Some alien species produced goods that humans valued, and now they could demand fair prices too. The difference was that fairness was enforced by human power than left to market manipulation. Commander Chan-ho had perhaps the most important job in the new galactic order. He commanded the Technology Sharing Division, responsible for deciding which human technologies to share with alien civilizations. "The Alterans are requesting access to our defensive shield technology," his assistant reported. "Approved," Chan-ho said after reviewing the request. "They are Tier 1 allies. Give them the basic shield generators but not the advanced ones." It was a careful balance. Humans shared enough technology to help their allies defend themselves, but never enough to threaten human superiority. Even the most advanced technology given to aliens was generations behind what humans actually possessed. "What about the Zephyrian? Request for faster-than-light communication systems?" "Approved. The Zephyrians are honest traders. Better communication will help everyone." The Zephyrians had quickly adapted to the new galactic order by becoming humanity's preferred trading partners. They were smart enough to see the opportunities in the new system and honest enough to be trusted with advanced technology. Dr. Haye-jin continued her study of alien psychology, but now her research was used to help species adapt to the new order rather than to understand how to defeat them. "The Vorthak are having the most difficulty adjusting," she reported to Admiral So-young. "Their entire culture was based on military conquest. Without the ability to attack others, they do not know what to do with themselves." Suggestions? Give them a new purpose. They are natural warriors. Make them into protectors instead of conquerors. It was a brilliant idea. The surviving Vorthak military forces were offered positions in the human-led Galactic Peacekeeping Force. Instead of raiding weak civilizations, they could help protect them. Many Vorthak warriors accepted the offer eagerly, Fighting alongside humans gave them purpose and honor without the need to hurt innocent people. Senator Minjay of the Galactic Trade Commission was one of the aliens who had adapted most successfully to the new order. As a Alteran, he had lost his species' position as a regional power, but he had gained something more valuable: real security and prosperity. The Human Protection Guarantee has eliminated piracy in our sector completely, he reported to the Commission. Trade volume has increased by 400% in 6 months. It was the same story across the galaxy. When humans guaranteed the safety of trade routes, merchants could travel without massive security escorts. When humans prevented wars, resources could be spent on development instead of weapons. Some species are complaining that humans have too much control, said Commissioner Vell of the Rigelian Commonwealth. They are free to leave the human sphere of influence, Minjay replied. But they will not find better protection or fairer treatment anywhere else. Admiral So Young reviewed the reports from across the galaxy with satisfaction. The transition to the new order was proceeding more smoothly than anyone had dared to hope. Incidents of military conflict down 97%, reported her intelligence chief. Piracy down 99%. Interspecies disputes being resolved through mediation instead of warfare. Any resistance movements? 3 minor species have declared independence from the galactic community. They refuse all contact with humans or human allies. We are monitoring them but taking no action unless they become aggressive. It was exactly the policy humanity had announced. Species that wanted to remain isolated were free to do so, as long as they did not threaten others. President Min Su addressed the people of Earth in a global broadcast 6 months after the fleet's revelation. My fellow humans, she said, our children have brought peace to the galaxy, not through conquest, but through strength, not through fear, but through justice. The transformation was remarkable. Wars that had raged for centuries had ended overnight. Species that had been enemies for millennia were now trading partners. The galaxy was more prosperous and peaceful than it had ever been in recorded history. Some ask whether humanity has the right to impose our will on the galaxy, President Min Su continued. I answer that we have the responsibility. With great power comes the obligation to use that power for good. It was a philosophy that guided every human decision in the new galactic order. Power without responsibility was tyranny, but responsibility without power was meaningless. Captain Jin Ho, still commanding the Incheon's Thunder, patrolled the trade routes that connected the galaxy's major civilizations. 2 years after the revelation of the human fleet, Ambassador Unji stood at the observation deck of the rebuilt Galactic Council headquarters. The view showed a very different galaxy than the one she had known before. Ships from dozens of species traveled safely through space that had once been dominated by pirates and raiders. Trade convoys moved without military escorts because everyone knew that human warships monitored every major route. The universe had become quiet, but it was the quietness of peace, not emptiness. Ambassador, her assistant said, approaching. With the daily reports, the Vorthak Peacekeeping Division has successfully mediated another border dispute. The conflict between the Rigelians and the Centauri mining companies has been resolved without violence. Yunji smiled. The former Vorthak warriors had found new purpose as protectors instead of conquerors. They were surprisingly good at stopping fights, perhaps because everyone knew that Vorthak backed by human power was not something to argue with. Any new applications for alliance status? 3 more systems have requested Tier 1 protection. The Outer Rim colonies want to join the human sphere of influence. It happened every week now. As word spread about the safety and prosperity that came with human protection, more civilizations asked to join. The galaxy was slowly unifying under human leadership, not through conquest, but through invitation. Admiral So Young had moved her flagship to the center of the galaxy, where it could reach any crisis point within hours. From her command center, she monitored the activities of 700,000 warships spread across known space. Status report, she requested from her operations officer. All sectors peaceful, Admiral. No military conflicts detected. The patrol schedules are maintaining perfect coverage. Incident reports? 17 merchant vessels assisted with technical problems, 4 natural disasters where we provided humanitarian aid, 1 attempted piracy that was stopped before any shots were fired. So Young nodded. This was the new normal. Human ships spent more time helping people than fighting them. The mere presence of overwhelming force had made actual fighting unnecessary. "Admiral," her communications officer said, "incoming message from Earth. President Min-Soo wants to discuss the expansion project. The expansion project was humanity's plan for the next phase of galactic development. With peace established, it was time to focus on exploration and growth. On Earth, President Min-Soo was meeting with the heads of all major human departments. The success of the fleet revelation had created new opportunities and new responsibilities. Director Park, the president, said to the head of the Colonial Development Agency, "What is our status on New World settlements?" "Excellent, Madam President. With galactic trade routes secure, we can establish colonies in systems that were previously too dangerous. We have requests from 12 alien species asking for joint colonial projects." It was a remarkable change. 2 years ago, humans had to ask permission to settle on distant worlds. Now, alien species were asking to settle alongside humans for protection and prosperity. "Admiral Kyung-ho, how are our diplomatic relations?" "Better than we dared hope," Kyung-ho replied. 93% of known civilizations have signed some form of agreement with us. The remaining 7% are small, isolated species that prefer independence. "Any threats?" "None, Madam President. The last aggressive military force in the galaxy was eliminated 18 months ago when the Draxian rebels tried to restart their raiding campaigns. The Draxian rebels had learned the same lesson as the Vorthak. Challenging human power was not a mistake that anyone survived to repeat. Engineer Mi Ray worked in the newest generation of hidden shipyards, building vessels that made the original 700,000 ships look small. The galaxy was peaceful, but humanity continued to advance their technology and expand their capabilities. "Why do we keep building more ships?" asked her assistant, a young engineer who had joined after the fleet revelation. Mi Ray looked at the massive construction project taking shape in the shipyard. The new ships were not just larger than their predecessors, they were designed for exploration beyond the galaxy itself. "Peace is not the absence of the capacity for war," Mi Ray explained. "Peace is having such overwhelming capacity for war that no one dares test it." It was the philosophy that guided all human military development. The stronger humanity became, the less likely they would ever need to use that strength. Also, Mi Ray added with a smile, "These new ships are not just for war, they are for exploration. We have conquered this galaxy through peace. Now we need to see what lies beyond it." Captain Dong-sik commanded one of the routine patrol ships that maintained the quiet peace of the galaxy. His route took him along the galactic rim, where the few remaining independent civilizations maintained their isolation. "Sir," his sensor officer reported, "detecting a small fleet of unknown ships at the edge of our sensor range." Dong-sik checked his tactical display. The ships were small and primitive, probably explorers from beyond the galaxy who had just discovered faster-than-light travel. "Open a communication channel," Dong-sik ordered. "Universal Translation Protocol." Within minutes, contact was established with the alien ships. They were indeed explorers from a distant galaxy, and they were amazed to discover that this galaxy was inhabited. "Welcome, travelers," Dong-sik said in the standard greeting that had become common throughout human space. "I am Captain Dong-sik of the Terran Defense Force. You have entered space protected by humanity and our allies. We offer you safe passage and assistance if needed." The alien captain was confused. "Protected? Are you at war?" "No," Dong-sik replied. "We are at peace. The protection is to ensure that the peace continues." It was a conversation that happened regularly now. When new species discovered the galaxy, they found not a collection of warring civilizations, but a unified community protected by overwhelming human power. Dr. Hai-jin had expanded her research beyond alien psychology to study the social effects of the new galactic order. Her findings were remarkable. "Crime rates have dropped by 98% across all monitored civilizations," she reported to the Galactic Social Sciences Council. "Economic prosperity has increased dramatically. Population growth is stable and healthy." "What about cultural development?" asked Dr. Vell, a Rigelian social scientist. "Exceptional. When species no longer need to spend resources on military defense, they can focus on art, science, and exploration. We are seeing a galactic renaissance." It was true. the end of galactics. Warfare had freed enormous resources for peaceful development. Species that had spent centuries building weapons were now building schools, hospitals, and research centers. Any negative effects? Some older military leaders feel purposeless, Dr. He-jin admitted. But most have adapted by joining the peacekeeping forces or finding new careers in exploration and development. Chancellor Wu Jin of the Alterans had adapted to the new order better than most. His species had lost their position as a regional power, but they had gained something far more valuable, genuine security and prosperity. Ambassador Yunji, he said during their monthly meeting, I must confess something. When we first learned about your hidden fleet, I felt betrayed. We thought we were protecting you, but you were protecting us. Yunji nodded. Chancellor, that was always the plan. Humanity needed time to develop our capabilities. Your friendship gave us that time. And now? Now that friendship is between equals. The Alterans are our partners, not our clients. It was a relationship that had been repeated across the galaxy. Former patrons became partners. Former enemies became allies. The galaxy had been unified not through conquest, but through the promise of shared prosperity and security. Trade Minister Young Hee reviewed the economic reports with amazement. The numbers showed a transformation that economists had thought impossible. Galactic trade volume has increased by 800%, she reported to the Economic Development Council. Unemployment is at historic lows across all participating civilizations. What about inflation? Asked economic advisor Tae Min. Stable. When transportation is safe and piracy is eliminated, the cost of goods decreases naturally. When wars end, production capacity increases dramatically. The economic benefits of peace were even greater than the military advantages of human power. A galaxy without war was a galaxy that could focus all its energy on growth and development. Senator Min Jae of the Galactic Trade Commission had become one of the most respected leaders in the new galactic government. His species had lost military power but gained economic influence. The human model is spreading beyond species that are directly allied with them, he reported to the commission. Even isolated civilizations are adopting peaceful development policies because they see the benefits. Any resistance to the new order, less every year, the few remaining aggressive species either reform themselves or find themselves completely isolated. No one wants to be the enemy of a peaceful galaxy. Admiral So Young made her final patrol of the Galactic Core, reviewing the transformation that had taken place under human leadership. Her sensors showed no military buildups, no fleet movements, no signs of impending conflict. Admiral, her operations officer said, we are receiving the monthly reports from all sector commands. Summary: 0 military incidents across all monitored space, 14 humanit.